I've been building this game for 20 minutes every single day for 3 weeks now, and this is the week where real people will be able to see and playtest my actual game, so that I know if it sucks or if it's actually good. And we'll also be setting up the Steam page to show it to even more people. And this game is supposed to have a demo released on Steam in June for the Steam Next Fest. And then after that there's a Steam release. And here is the twist with this challenge. For every single new subscriber I gain, I will increase the max population count of the actual game in the final release. That means there will be more people walking around. And last week the goal was to make the game feel more alive through adding more sounds and more effects. I was working on getting the game to a state where I could record trailers, take screenshots and make Steam capsules for the Steam page. This week is to keep improving the game so that it looks a bit better and maybe even add some more sounds, then lay an outline and potentially start recording the trailer. So basically setting up all the resources for a Steam page. And then also start playtesting with my friends and see how they react to the game. I have already booked a playtesting session on Wednesday, so that's in 2 days. And something I didn't record last week on day 7 was that I did some research, both with AI and myself, to find a list of 86 different content creators I could message, and I also have a few other ones that's coming up. I've heard that you need about 400 different content creators to message to get some sort of answer. I had 50 when I was working on Echoes of Steel, and that did not work. Now this was just some preparation so that I have less work to do later and to get some progress on the marketing. But starting in the actual game. Last week I worked on the building upgrade effect. And basically I want to finish that off so that we actually have a good looking building upgrade effect. So really I'm thinking we just really put this in here and then we duplicate it 4 times so that we have one on each edge of the visual. So something like this is the idea of how it's gonna look when you upgrade. I think that looks a lot better than the current one. So if you go ahead and upgrade a building, let's see, it doesn't come up immediately. It was very small actually. So something's off. It does actually show up. See if it doesn't seem to actually get destroyed either. But if we try and upgrade another building and we'll real quick try and pause it while it's upgrading, so it does not seem to spawn in the correct location. That could just be because the prefab is not set to the correct location. So we click the building, we press upgrade. It does also appear to be looping, so that's not, and lifetime shouldn't be more free. Maybe we want lifetime to be actually shorter, and maybe, oh, we'll actually keep the speed. If we try upgrading it, that looks a bit better. Although maybe more of a spread outwards and not just upwards would be better, but I think we already got the basics down with that. It just needs some fine tuning, like a lot of things. Let's move on to the actual trailer. So I do want to start kinda getting the trailer together. I have already made an outline with ChatGPT that knows the game. So I already have a shot list, and this is what I've been working towards, trying to make all of these different parts of the game feel satisfying. So what needs to be in the trailer is a placement of each block. We want a nice upgrade of at least 2 levels on the same block. We want a synergy payoff moment so that you can see an effect when a synergy is placed. Now that effect isn't in the game yet, so that has to be done. And then we have city life close-ups. So we want some pedestrians, we want some smoke, we want some sounds from the industrial area and lights maybe blinking or something. Then we want the expansion rising out of the water, as that is one of the most impactful moments of the entire game. And then of course a big final skyline where you can see this massive city that has grown really fast. Maybe a time lapse of like multiple blocks being placed and then it zooms out and there's just a massive city. The trailer is only supposed to be like 30 seconds because it's gonna be a teaser trailer. And then I'll probably make another trailer before the full release, but this trailer will be more of a placeholder for the demo and the start of the Steam page, because we do still have about 3 months to go. And I want the Steam page to look a lot more professional. If it doesn't have a trailer, it doesn't really look like a real game. The time is up for today. I might sit and adjust the upgrade effect a little bit and potentially work on some Steam assets. You will see tomorrow. I ended up playtesting yesterday instead of actually playtesting on Wednesday, but there was a lot of obvious things that needed fixing based on this playtesting session. So for example, before the current money UI wasn't actually calculating correctly, so the money gain animation wasn't synced with the actual number that is here. And then there was also an issue with the performance, or there was multiple issues with the performance that really slowed the game down if you just had like 30 plus buildings. And that is when you placed a building when having multiple buildings already, the entire walkability graph that allows the people to actually move around rebuilt on the entire grid. And I fixed that so that now it just adds the actual new footprint of the new building and not rebuilding the entire grid. And then as you can see, I've also added a quantum console, which is an asset, and there turned out to be some errors with the shaders and stuff, and having this console really helped that. And some other things were that you need to see how much an upgrade actually boosts the building. Is obvious to me as the developer, but not to someone playing the game. As well as the synergies between the buildings actually showing here in the side panel, so that you know how much the building is boosted from the start. Because it wasn't clear to the player how much the building was actually boosted. So the idea for today is to fix some of these things that I didn't have time to fix yesterday. And I'm thinking I'm going to add how much a building is boosted in the side panel. We'll make it a bit bigger and we'll add some percentages and some synergies. And well, based on the feedback from the playtesting session, one effect right here when upgrading he actually thought was pretty good, so I think I might keep that. But a comment was that it should actually construct the buildings and not just update it out of nowhere, which I can agree to and is the plan to add. Where we're going to add how much it's boosted and how much an upgrade actually upgrades the building. Maybe we'll just have above the upgrade button like a plus 30% or something like that. Now I'm not sure how much the synergies are actually going to show, if there's just going to be a percentage and then like synergies and then plus 10% or something like that. Or if there should be like these buildings are actively boosting this building, or if you only see that on the actual tooltip. And it almost feels like a life hack thinking out loud, because every time I'm thinking out loud in these videos, I realize that, well, this option is probably the best solution. Quietly thinking about it, it might have taken a lot more reasoning and back and forth, and is this really good? Should I do this or should I do that? Actually, now that I look at it, we might want a percentage above here too. I'm thinking that we could have like images right in here, and we'll basically have for every synergy it adds an icon like this, or maybe not every synergy, but like a few, so that they then stack upon each other like this. And maybe we'll keep that as a future to do, and first try and get these new numbers actually working. Let's add some new serialized fields. We'll have serialized field. Now we have all of these in the editor. So the synergy boost text we'll put in there, and the upgrade percentage we'll have right there, and the sale percentage right there. Update the side panel UI to correctly display the upgrade percentage, sell percentage, and the synergy boost in the UI. So now it updates the detail text with the refund, return, the increase, and the synergy percent. If we go in here, you can see there's a 0% synergy boost. Maybe it shouldn't be shown at all if it's 0. So we have a 100% increase if we upgrade. So let's try upgrading. And now there's a 0% increase. Maybe the text should just disappear if there's max level. We'll see. We can see that it does get a 20% synergy boost. If I add even more, the synergy goes up even more. So the max we can add synergy we can have on a building is 792% for the commercial area, with just residential areas. And if we sell, we're supposed to get an 80% return. And this does actually make the side panel look quite a bit better, because you actually understand the building right now. This is something I wouldn't have thought of about myself, because I know all these numbers in my head already. So why would I need them to read them out? And that's really why playtesting is important. And that's a lesson I learned from my previous game, X of Steel, that I should really get to playtesting earlier, so that you can also see if people actually find the game fun to play. But that's all the time I really had for today, and it's actually been really fun updating UI. It looks a lot better. I quite like this actually now. And I did actually keep working a bit yesterday. So first of all, I did get started on the Steam description in a really rough outline right now. So basically there's 5 sections. One with the building, and you can see a time lapse in a small GIF. You can see the synergies, you can see the world expanding, you can see some of the relaxed, more satisfying parts of the game, and then a more part focused on the lights and the people. Not only that, I did also get to work a bit on a new Steam capsule, because I realized that this game should maybe be more focused on the actual cozy parts and not the hyper dopamine mobile game parts. So I kind of brainstormed some different things where basically you have all the buildings on the left side and you have the text on the right side. Very similar to Dwarf Romantics, which is right here, which was basically my inspiration for this new revamp of the Steam capsule. Just buying the Steam page and trying to set this up is kind of the next step, but the goal today is to once again make the game ready for trailer making. So I'm going to first kind of change the building upgrade so that the building first goes down back into the ground, and then the new upgraded version rises up from the ground. So we already have an idle building which does nothing, and the build rise which rises the building up when you place the building. And if we play this, it should be just like the build rise. Yes, and like that. Now it should be inverted. So yes, now it goes down instead of up. So that the building that exists goes down, and then the new upgraded visual comes up with the build rise. It now starts the upgraded visual coroutine instead of doing an instant swap. And it finds the old visual child and triggers build down. Then waits 2 frames for the state to settle, then destroys the old visual and instead says a new one, and then triggers the build rise. So if we upgrade our commercial building, it goes down to the ground and the new one actually comes up. So it does seem to work, except apparently it goes back down. Maybe we accidentally left loop on or something. It goes down very fast and then goes up and then apparently goes back down and then up again. Okay, so something is not working as intended here. It finds the visual, it tries to get the animator on the actual visual even though it's not there, and then has a fallback for the root level animator. I guess I didn't give the AI enough context. Fix the place building upgrade effects so that they use the roots animator. So now the mess with the fallback animators and stuff on the actual visual is removed. That's probably the problem. It didn't have exit time on the actual transition back to the idle. The timing doesn't seem to be long enough for the old building to be replaced. Maybe if we set the transitions to actually be an exit time of 1. Now I might have actually fixed this. So let's try upgrading once again. It goes down. And then the new one comes up. So really the only problem was that the exit time right here needed to be 1 instead of 0.75. Although it took some time to figure out. I also decided to actually change the upgrade effect so it feels a bit slower and not as hectic. So something like that instead. I think that looks quite a bit better. So now that did take a bit longer than I thought, but I think we can place the building upgrade animation finally in the completed done tasks. It's been a to-do for like a week now, but now I think it's actually where I want it to be for the trailer at least. First I was thinking I would get started on the synergy placed effect, which I was considering yesterday, but now I've actually gotten some motivation for trying to make the windows during night being lit up. But when it does get dark in the game currently, these windows are still just dark. They don't emit any light of any sort. The only light source is the actual street lights. If you ever look at the kind of vision I've been trying to achieve in the Steam capsule, you can see that the windows right here are glowing. And that's what I want to do in the actual game. It's a small detail that does make a lot of difference. But the problem with this is that all of these assets are from an asset pack. And all of these assets use the exact same material for everything. So these objects are not separate. This building is one object, and this building is one object. The windows are not separate, the materials are not separate, they're all just in one single asset. So that's why I've kind of brainstormed a bit, where you basically use fake panels on top of the already existing windows that kind of show up during the night. That would mean like 10 to 30 glow panels per building block, and that was obviously too much. I had that suspicion already. So then the idea was, we have one glow overlay per building site or per building. So for this example right here, in this residential block, there would just be one quad for all these windows. And that would lead to maybe being 3 to 6 planes per building block. And that's still a lot better, but maybe not optimal. So in our new window glow, we'll add our glow color, we'll add our texture 2D and a night amount. And that should really be it. So we have our final alpha, we'll put in the master node and our final color and put that into base color. If we go back into here with our quad and we'll drag onto our window glow into the materials. Right now, what happens if we increase the glow intensity to like 10? It does change, so that's a good thing. It does actually seem to work somewhat at least, and it does seem to be glowing actually a bit too much, but it might be we have actually disabled bloom. So if we turn on bloom again, it should look quite a bit better, and that actually looks really good. I really like that. It's supposed to then fade out during the day and then come back during the night so that it's not just yellow all the time. Before we change in the code, let's see so that it actually works. So if I have day visibility at 0 and our night amount changes from 1 to maybe 0.5 or 0, it totally disappears. So let's go into the code and see how we can change this so that it actually scales with the day-night cycle. Let's say update solute, then day-night cycle updates the window glow material and its variable night amount. It has now been updated, so the day-night cycle now drives the window glow's material's night value. This is probably the easier approach, and not going into Blender and separating all the objects and assigning different materials to all of them. I think this should work pretty well. And if we see during the night, they do start glowing during the night. This turned out so much easier and so much better than I thought. I have been procrastinating this for no reason, and I do understand shader graphs a bit better now, because it's nice to have some repetition with it every now and then, even though I don't work with it all the time. So yesterday I did get some more work done. First of all, I did add a bit more glow planes on the different buildings. So right here we have some more on the buildings, we have some here. And after that I did kind of try playtesting my game. If you fill this expansion, these first starting tiles and the two after that expansion tiles with buildings, the game started to lag. But it turned out that the pedestrian manager that I thought I had already improved was actually kind of the bottleneck. I have redesigned the entire pedestrian manager. The people can now clip through each other again, because that was kind of a bottleneck. So only if they're idling, the cell will actually be reserved. Yesterday I had about 2,000 or 3,000 agents without any problems at all, which really goes to show that you can improve the game a lot with simple changes. And as you can see, over here there's no people. That's because they have LODs now, so that if they're far away they get cold and kinda disappear. But today I do actually want to keep working on the actual effects, because that is the goal of the week. And by that I mean the effect that it comes up when you place a building. So right here, these two buildings are synergized. So when I place this building, there should be like a golden line that connects up with this building and then a little bit of a golden shimmer. And we're gonna see if AI can do it, because it has managed to make some really good effects before. So previously, when I made the tilerized edge effect, I did create a skill for the coding AI to use when creating new effects later. So now it uses that to make even better effects, because now it has an instruction plan on how to actually go about it. But I don't actually see an effect when we place our buildings. It's in the other building. And it does actually travel, but it's a bit too low. That should now be fixed. So if we place a building, let's see. It does work, but I'm not sure if I would call it that good looking. I mean, the burst might be a bit too little, and I don't think it's really that golden. But maybe the player doesn't realize that, oh, that's a synergy effect. And I mean, that might be a problem. It might actually confuse players if they just see these random things shooting out from a building. They might think they're supposed to be destroyed or something. I've actually also just uploaded the first week of this challenge, and it did perform way better than I thought. Like, I was basically thinking, oh, I would have like 10 views on that, but it's up in 150 right now, which is way above what I thought. So I'm happy with the performance. But then again, I'm also doing this challenge because I want the accountability to release a real game and show you how you can go from an idea to a full finished release. And I mean, it's certainly a new challenge that I've wanted to try for a while, where I literally build this game in public, and it's a new format that I haven't really seen a lot of other people doing. So basically just trying and experimenting and see if it works. Just sitting and making these explainer videos might get quite a bit boring after some time for me. So trying out this new thing where instead of sitting and recording for an entire morning for a talking head explainer video, I sit for 20 minutes every single day and record instead on a game that I'm actually building and releasing. It's certainly a different type of mindset that I have with it. Maybe we want it to be more like blue instead of golden. That's actually true, because the synchronized buildings are blue, so it will make sense that the connection is also blue. So if we connect the building, it's actually blue. I do think that looks a bit better than the golden one, but I'm still not sure about the burst. It might actually grow on me. It feels like it's usually like that with these effects. The building plays smoke when you place a building right here, and the smoke that comes up. I didn't really like that at start, but now I kind of like it actually. The same with the upgrade effect, but I think it looks pretty good now. So maybe it will just grow on me as I keep working on the game. For today, I'm thinking I will try and refine the Steam capsule a bit. And I'm also at the same time trying to kind of recreate it in Unity to see if that looks better. So I might try and kind of incorporate that. Or I might just go with this one and try and clean up a bit, like removing the tycoon, removing the tycoon text up here and improving this text to look a bit more high resolution, because it's kind of blurry right now. But let's actually go and try and make this Steam capsule look a bit better, because next week I want this Steam page to already be up. I'm thinking I'm going to actually set up tomorrow or today. But also the goal is to get the Steam page out as fast as possible and start gathering wish lists. And we could always update the Steam capsule. I shouldn't also allow the perfectionism to delay this even further. And I mean, my only reference points for Steam capsules that I've made is for Exo Steel. And this went through a lot of iterations, but I only actually published the full thing. So I've had tons of different texts, but I did go with the same monster throughout the entire thing and the same background. It's just that I never knew the text, and here I added some extra glow, here I made it closer, fixed the text, and here is the final text actually, but I still didn't like it, so I added some details with crack text, which really took it to the next level. I don't know if you want Tycoon to be the biggest text, but I think so. I do quite like this composition quite a bit, because it aligns really well with the tall building. So the texture starts here and this right here over the water and not blocking the actual like park or stuff like that. I wouldn't have anything against publishing the Steam page with this one, I think. So it's certainly a start on the Steam page. I mean, it takes a really long time making all these assets for the Steam page, and this is probably one of the most important assets, so that's why it takes a lot of extra time. But I might later today actually get to work a bit on the trailer, and I might also actually start setting up the Steam page, so that's ready for more work tomorrow. I've actually already worked for about 40 minutes today, but I wasn't able to record it. First of all, I worked a bit yesterday, but also today on a debug tools manager that will basically make it easier to test the actual game. So for example, one command I added is when you have a selected building and you write spawn buildings, you can write spawn buildings 8 and it will spawn 8 buildings around your selected building, which makes it a lot easier to kind of test scale by placing a ton of buildings with a ton of people and seeing how the performance actually works. And there's also some other basic commands like add money, spawn pedestrian, let's spawn 1,000 pedestrians. And they all pop in at the same time, so it's gonna be a bit laggy. But now we have 1,000 pedestrians. Probably going to add commands as I go that I need for testing purposes, but I have also worked a bit on the Steam page, of course. So I've already made 2 GIFs. I'm gonna have, I think it's 4 or 5 GIFs for the Steam description, and here's basically 2 of them. So I kinda just recorded me placing buildings and I sped it up into a building GIF. Now I'm not 100% sure about this one. It feels like it cuts a bit too hard between the night here and the day here. So I might just cut it so that it's just one of these clips. I have also decided kind of on a Steam capsule that I want to begin with. Now it's still AI generated. I want to make the background be from the actual game. And I've already tried kind of doing it with the screenshots I already had, but obviously it doesn't work that well. For the first version of the Steam page, I will be using this one. I believe I might change it a little bit, and that's basically what I've done today. But this week has actually been a really good week. First of all, I started strong with playtesting, which showed me a lot of things that needed improving. There was too much camera shake, the kind of placement was kind of off, like you couldn't. The tick on the actual current money that you can see right now was wrong. There was a lot of performance issues that's also been fixed with the pedestrians, as well as the side panel actually showing the synergy boost and stuff like that, and as well as the upgrade increase and the return on sell. And then of course, the building upgrade animation is also new, so if we upgrade a building, it goes down into the ground and then a new building floats up also with the particles. Then of course we have the lit windows during night, which does make the game a lot cozier in my opinion. We have the synergy placed effect, so if you place a building, there are blue lines that come and shoot into the affected building or the target building. I've already written in this into the actual Steam page now, and I've also made some of the GIFs as I just shown you. And I am kinda amazed how much progress I can actually make in a week with such a small amount of time each day. Sure, some days I worked for 40 minutes because I thought it was fun, but most days it's been 20 or 30 minutes, which is, I mean, just in the morning I sit down and work for a little bit and I get this much done. So I hope you made some progress on your games. I'm going to keep working on my game next week and I hope I see you then.